Hello, everyone. I don't have a working mic.
Oh, yeah.
Now I do. Okay. Hi. We are here for the August meeting of the Voorheesville School Board, and we'll start the meeting now, a little bit late. Sorry for the delay. For the good of the order. I'll call the meeting to order.
Yeah, we'll call on pledge.
Oh,
Sorry.
good grief. It's not on the.
Yeah,
It's usually
Roll
there.
call and pledge and stuff's usually on.
Yeah.
It's not on.
I'm sorry, it's not on the agenda, but there we go. So everyone is now here. We are a board of 6 at the moment, and we will start the meeting, I guess, with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, we're all here. All right, so now the meeting is begun, and we have, for the good of the order, where the board has a chance to say anything and.
No.
Okay.
Thank you for organizing the ceremony for Jim.
Oh, well, thank you all for being part of it. And just to recognize that Mr. Coffin was part of the board for a period spanning almost 4 decades, I believe. His service was not just long, it was valuable, and it was important to this community. He gave a wonderful gift of his time and his thoughtfulness for many, many years, and it was an honor to serve with him. So we appreciate him. He was a gentleman in the truest, he is a gentleman. He served as a gentleman in the truest sense of the word. I'm grateful for having been able to serve with him. So does anyone else have anything for the good of the order, or?
No, just that it's been a pleasure to serve with Jim.
Yeah.
So, all right, we now have item 2.1, which is the opportunity for public to be heard. If you have something that you would like to, there's a podium here to state your name. To address the board, please keep your comments to under 3 minutes. Okay, moving through, we're going to go to superintendent's report.
Okay, so just before we begin that, I too want to thank Jim for his support. And, Jim was one of the original board members who also hired me and also mentored me as I began this position. And his historical knowledge and understanding of the district was invaluable and still is. And I really do appreciate Jim and his friendship as well. He's just overall a great human being. I'm grateful that I had the time to know him. So, and work with him as a board member. On my updates, it says committee meetings, open meetings law. That's actually going to be as part of our video conferencing conversation and policy.
Okay.
So that's where that actually will go. So I just wanted to clarify that really quick. So before I get to the opening update and in introducing our new high school principal, I do want to talk a little bit about our pre-K program that we have going on. But before going into pre-K, I want to just talk about the funding. So state funding for pre-K, it's $5,400 flat. That's all you get per student. It's not by hour or by anyone else. Each student who's in a program, it's $5,400. The state this year did allocate more funds to our district and other districts, but if you don't have a community-based organization that can accommodate that, you can't use it. So even though the money is there in the state allocations, so let's say like some districts, they may have triple what we have, but they may not have a CBO in their district that could do it. They're not going to be able to offer the pre-K program. So I just kind of want to clarify that because I do know people have seen that and understand it. The money is per pupil expenditure, and it's whatever your CBO is able to do. Our CBO was working with us, and through this year, they wanted to change the times and frames that we had for our students. First, in March, they came back and they changed it from 18 students to 16 students per the Office of Early Learning. Then in July, they came and they saw, and this is really due to money and due to inflation and other issues, that the minimum 6 hours that we had on our RFP, that included nap time and lunch, and per state standards, that is a full 6 hours because it's 5 hours of instructional time. The CBO wanted to change that down to 5 hours. They would get rid of nap time and then create an instructional program within their lunchtime. And that is per OEL, and that is acceptable. And that's why the CBO has done that. That was in July where we started to have that conversation. You know, I will say that I am a little disappointed that we weren't able to accommodate the 6 hours as originally stated, but you know, we are subject and beholden to our CBO who's able to offer the program, and we want to be able to offer our program to our community. So that's why it's down to a 5-hour minimum instructional time. The CBO is offered in 1 hour aftercare program as an extension. I did contact the CBO and ask them if they would be interested in doing a per pupil expenditure, if the district could maybe fund that. I don't know the funding stream. We haven't talked about that. I just want to see if it was an opportunity. That was about a week ago. At that point in time, the CBO responded back to me that they weren't interested in doing it now. That would be something they might consider in the future, but they wanted to continue with the program that they already have developed. So that's why we are where we are with our pre-K program in a nutshell. Any questions? Tim?
Does the UPK program not include a lunch?
It does include a lunch, but per OEL, they can have a social component. So like they do it like as family style, and they work on social learning, and they work on gathering, and that counts as instructional time.
Mm.
Yep, and I called state ed and clarified that, and that's actually per state ed.
And the adjournment time will now be 2 o'clock?
I believe so. I don't have the numbers of it
Or
because.
an hour earlier than what it
Correct.
had.
Yep.
And has there been any parents of UPK kids who have reached out to you?
We had one family member reach out to the Full Bird, as you know, regarding that. And, you know, we responded back to them regarding the per pupil expenditure that I just discussed. And, you know, that's when I did respond back to the UPK program asking if they would be interested in doing the 5-hour extension, the hour extension. They said no. And other than that, that's the only family that has reached out to me.
That's a shame.
So Frank, we have the contract on tonight's agenda to approve,
Correct.
but in future years, another option is bringing this in-house.
Well, it will be if we have space.
If we had space.
That will be the number, and that's a twofold, but I want to be clear on that. That's a twofold thing. We can bring it in-house, but bringing it in-house will also mean an expenditure of general funds because it will be our own teachers doing it.
Yeah, refresh.
Yep, so that will be another component, and it will be a discussion at a later point, but yes, we could. Another idea is we are going to go out for another RFP at the end of this year, and if there is another CBO that is interested in doing that, we can look at that. We can actually look at parsing it out between 2 CBOs to be able to offer it to more students. So there's a lot of options that we can explore in the future.
That CBO has to be physically located within your community?
We have to offer it first to our community CBOs,
Mhm.
community-based organizations. After that, it can go out to other people, but every other school in New York State also got these funds. So, you know, they're going, so it's not like if I go to Guilderland and I'm asking for Guilderland, they're already working with the Guilderland schools. Bethlehem, as you know, they didn't fill that program because they didn't have a CBO that was able to do it. So, you know, we were lucky enough to have a CBO and still be able to offer it for our community.
Right.
Anything else on that? I hope I'm just clear and makes sense now, or? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're all just disappointed, like you are.
Yep.
And this is where we are, but
Yeah.
the alternative is no program.
Correct. And
That's basically what it boils down to.
And I will always err on our families and students. And I feel that the UPK program, as I said from the beginning, is imperative for the benefit of our kids. And we have one. And, you know, I think that's the number one thing.
The fact that you're recommending that we renew this contract would tell me that you have faith that they're offering a decent program.
I do. It also is the CBO that has applied for the RFP that we utilized last year.
No, I
But I
understand.
do believe that, you know, we're having a program that meets the needs of our students based off of the Office of Early Learning
And
Standards.
that's most important.
Yep. Okay, I got that one done. I want to make sure, I even wrote down, make sure I had the key points. So let's talk about opening of the school year. I have to first and foremost, and I might miss some people, like our administrative staff, our custodial staff, our maintenance staff, our secretarial staff, transportation, food service, technology staff, they have been working diligently. Like they don't have summers, right? And, you know, August is, we call it the long Sunday because it's right before school and all teachers know what I'm saying when I say it. It is the long Sunday. Our custodians and those people that I mentioned didn't have a Sunday. They didn't have it. July started and their prep has all been towards September. So I just want to acknowledge the fact that we're able to open in a couple weeks because of them. And without them doing the jobs that they're doing, we wouldn't be able to offer this to our community. So just want to give them a round of applause. We don't have a meeting prior to the opening of schools, so I really wanted to make sure that that was out there. Second, and most importantly, as you know, we had an opening for a high school principal. We went through a competitive process. We did appoint a principal last week. We are lucky enough that Mrs. Duguay could actually start with us early. So she did 5 days at her last district and now has started here on Monday, and she's jumped in feet first. So I do want to put you on the hot seat. So Kristen, would you come up and introduce yourself to the board? You can actually sit right here if you'd like. Or the podium, however you would like to.
What would you prefer?
Your call. And just introduce yourself.
Might be easier.
I'll go over here. So, hi everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight. So it's Kristen Duguay. I'm sure that everyone was kind of wondering, hey, you have this interesting French name. How do you say it? It's Kristen Duguay. I'm going into my 15th year in education, and now I have the honor and privilege to be the high school principal, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity. It's everything that I've been studying, training, working, and just living up to. So I cannot wait to serve the students, the staff, the community, and it's really a privilege to be here. So I'm sure you probably have questions for me, maybe. Or maybe not, that's fine too.
Where are you from?
Okay, so, well, how far back do you want me to go?
All the way.
Okay, all the way, all right, so I grew up in Burn Hills, and I was a volleyball player and, you know, did the whole Burn Hill thing, worked at Elms Tree Farm for 15 years as well, so I can tell you all about Christmas trees. There's a hidden talent, and I don't know how we will use that,
Well, we do have a Kiwanis Christmas sale every year in town.
Okay,
So we could find a way to use
We know
that.
who's in charge.
Exactly.
We can work
Yeah.
with that.
So I'm totally there. So I did that. I went to Siena College. I started at Siena College, played volleyball there as well. Initially, I was a science major, and that was just not my thing. I really had a passion for reading and writing. So I transferred. I went to St. Rose. I became an English educator, and I immediately got hired. I did a maternity leave at Amsterdam High School. Spent 9 years at Johnstown High School. At that time, I was afforded the opportunity to build a P-TECH, one of the first in the area. And then I had the opportunity to go to Schoharie, and from there I was the 6 through 12 assistant principal. So, and now I am here.
And she missed data protection officer as well.
Oh, right, yeah. So, yes, Schoharie also afforded me a lot of opportunities. I was data protection officer there, Title IX coordinator, DASA coordinator. I built an esports program. I was actually just nominated and won the award for FFA honorary degree recipient. Because again, actually at Christmas time, we had to unfortunately shut down for COVID, and a fundraiser had to happen. So they needed people to jump in, and I jumped in, and I'm trimming boughs and making centerpieces and getting it out to families. So yeah, so I did receive that. And I did a big farm to table program there where we had this beautiful high tunnel, and it was up and not being run. And so I worked with our ag teacher, and I said, you know, what do you need? How can I help? And we got all the supplies, and we were out there tilling. And so now the students at Schoharie grow their own vegetables to sustain salads and some fresh items for the lunch. Yeah.
Very good.
So very varied. But do you have any other questions for me?
I have no questions.
No questions.
Well,
Okay.
yes,
Thanks
thank
so
you for
much.
being here on the hot seat.
Yeah, no, this is, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen.
Yes, thank you very
Nice
much.
to meet you.
Kristen is, she actually, again, we hired Kristen and we were able to get her in really quick. There was not a 30-day, as most times go, so Kristen has jumped right into this. There are some times where she will not be able to be here. There is a prior engagement the first week of school from the 7th on. So, but she's here prior to that, and she's already been meeting families and students, and really she'll be here all night. The week after that with, well, probably until 9 o'clock at night each night with openings and meeting families and stuff. So she's hit the ball running, and we're very excited to have her as part of our team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Okay, and as we keep going, I know you've seen some of the updates that we sent. I do want to kind of harken back to something we talked about, and that was about school safety. And you know that hardening of schools is one aspect of school safety, but another program of school safety is the social emotional the student connectedness, making sure there's a welcoming environment for our students. And that really is going to be a big initiative this year. And one thing I mentioned was bringing in a evidence-based anti-bullying, tolerance, substance abuse, body imaging kind of program for our students K through 8. So I've been working with Albany County Prevention Systems, and they work with, and I want to make sure I say this 100%, Addiction Care Center of Albany. Each county gets funds, and then they utilize one area and one service to be able to allocate those funds across the county for other services and schools. In Schenectady County, it was Northeastern, and I worked with them in a previous district that I worked with. So they actually bring in 2 different programs, a K through 4 program called Apple a Day, and then a 5 through 8 program called Steps to Respect. I've been saying it wrong today, so I'm glad I got that right. And these are, let me make sure that I say this correctly. I want to do this right. They're bullying prevention tools that really focus on bullying and friendship and based on research and protective factors for children. So, and it's age appropriate, and it's based off of literature use and everything else. The really neat thing about this, Albany County, these people actually do it for us. They come into schools, they work in other school districts, they create these prevention programs, they deliver those prevention programs, and they are free of charge. So it's an evidence-based program. We are starting these in the fall, probably like in October for our students. They do offer them in 3 different steps. I want to get them in the fall so we can really start that program and then build off of it for the remainder of the year. And it really it impacts everything else that the buildings are doing. So it goes along with Sweetheart and Heroes. It goes along with all these other programs. It emphasizes your bystanders and empowering them. And then in grade 4, it does talk a little bit about substance abuse. It also talks about, because this is where these things happen, right? This is where they start. It's 4th, 5th, 6th grade. Also in 5th grade, there's body image. So, you know, bringing in that for our students is extremely important. Because if you look at the data, and it shows that when students get to middle school, the mental health, substance abuse, and, you know, and honestly, unfortunately, bulimia and some of those things, that really starts in middle school, you know, and that's where it becomes prevalent. So we're really trying to target those things along with a good anti-bullying program that we can see through. So I know we talked about it. I was able to work with Albany County Prevention Services this year. Like actually on Monday, this all came to fruition. That's why you haven't heard much about it from me, because I've been working on it this week. And I'm just really excited that we can offer these programs. On top of the program, they are doing something else for us in October. We're working on a whole wellness program for our grades 6 through 12. We're going to be bringing in students who are former addicts. These are like 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds, and all different times, and they're going to actually do a roundtable for our students and families at night. We're also going to offer a different training for families in our community across the board. It's going to be Narcan training in October, and that's a full Narcan training for anyone who wants it, along with family intervention services. And this is outside of the school. You know, I'll probably be there as a parent because I really am interested in learning this, and I would like the Narcan training. But it will also allow families, and they offer this program where if you're concerned that there's an addiction in your household, or you know someone with an addiction, and it can be any form of addiction, what you do, because people usually are paralyzed. They know it happens, but they're not sure how to help support it. And this is from children all the way up through adults. We're able to offer this to our community where they're going to come in, teach them how to go through this, talk about intervention services, and then become supports for these families as well. So this is something that we just want to put in, because altogether, if you look at trauma-informed students and trauma-informed teaching, you know, our idea is we want to prevent the trauma before the students have it, before we have to teach it. So we've worked a lot on what does trauma-informed teaching look like and how do we work with students who have trauma, but we don't do enough to prevent trauma in our communities. So this is one of those layers that I want to bring in to help support. I'm really excited to be able to first roll it out to you and tell you. I haven't told really anyone, and except for my team today, and then I really want to talk tonight. Any questions? Any thoughts?
Great idea. Great idea. Can you tell me what the dates are for your community?
We don't have them yet, so we're working on them. We decided it's going to be in October because we feel like everything will culminate. We'll have our K through 8 program going in October. We're going to do our wellness program in October, and then we're also going to do that for our families. And we feel October is a good point because then we can build off on that as we move forward. And it also goes along with the strategic plan that we're developing, because a big component of that was protective factors along with our board goals. So it all really aligns very well.
So the community activities, will those be in the evening?
Yes. Yeah. We're trying to figure out the best options, because sometimes you can create these amazing community activities and get not the most amazing turnout. So we're trying to figure out how to be able to create those opportunities for our own families as well, but still give a safe, protective environment for them to do so. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So you said that people are gonna be coming in and they deliver the whole
Yes.
program, right? What will that look like on a daily basis? Are they coming in once a month?
So it's gonna be
during the
once a
day?
week for
Okay.
6 to 8 weeks.
Okay,
We don't really know exactly how we're gonna schedule that yet. That's gonna be a
Okay.
work in progress with our admin and our building leadership teams. But it's a 6 to 8 week program. I missed that. I did write it, Robin. I did write down that I want to say 6 to 8 weeks.
It's a lot to,
But they are gonna be giving us presenters to do this. These presenters have gone to other schools and done this as well. And they wanna work out our dates, times, schedules to make sure that they get a presenter that will fit with our students and families.
okay.
Anything else?
So you envision like grade level at a time?
Actually, classroom. So it's a classroom based. So if you're familiar with, there was a program called Obeus, which was a student-based kind of classroom structure for anti-bullying. This is a classroom discussion-based, literature-based program where they come into a classroom. It's about half hour to 45 minutes. They work with the students. And also there actually are handouts for families too. So that goes out to the community. And they have all these handout supports and there, we have all the different things. And if a family does want to opt their child out of this and they don't want to have the program or understand it, we will give them that opportunity as well. But, I do feel that these are age-appropriate, evidence-based research programs. We're not developing them on our own. These are vetted, peer-reviewed, projects that have been going on that have been proven to work within schools.
it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
It sounds very promising to support the kids, support the community.
That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we're up to approval of the minutes. We have minutes from the reorganization meeting and minutes from the regular meeting, both held, when was that? In July, July 6th. This is a long time ago. Do we have a motion to approve both sets of minutes, 4.1 and 4.2?
I'll move it.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, moving into action items, number 5.1, the treasurer's report. We'll just take that one. And 5.1, 5.12, acceptance of warrants. Any questions, any discussion? Motion to approve?
I'll move it.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Personnel items, just wanted to note, there's a retirement of Teresa Dizacomo, excuse me. She served as a teacher's aide for 22 years. So, that's part of the personnel and a lot of different hirings and resignations and so on. So 5.2 in its entirety down all the way to 5.2.15. Does anyone have any questions? Motion,
Move it.
second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then 5.3 all the way down to 5.12. If there are any questions about any of those items, CSE recommendations, NISBA policy services, CASDA membership surplus, the contract for UPK, ice hockey merger with about 10 districts, it seems, and then some memorandums of agreement. Does everyone have?
I have a question.
Yes.
Have we had a hockey team before?
Yes, we've had it for multiple years now.
The same,
Yep, same agreements.
Okay.
Yeah. What color are the uniforms is my question.
Blue?
Okay, so do we have a motion?
I'll move it.
Okay, a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so 13. All right, now we're gonna go to old business. I think our next audit committee is coming up on the 12th.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, so there's nothing there.
Correct.
And then curriculum is.
curriculum had not met, the August curriculum committee meeting. It looked like there were gonna be a number of key individuals who were gonna be missing. So we said, all right, let's hold off until September.
Okay.
And then a suggestion was made, should we go back to the schedule we had last year that would have us meet every other month. And I'm not in a position to answer that question. I think that's up to the board to decide if that's appropriate as a board committee. Every other month, is that a schedule that meets the needs of the board and the staff? We can have that discussion now, or we could have it another time.
If I recall, the committee was scheduled for every month, but opted to drop the
Correct.
intermittent months.
Right.
So,
So then, do we want to go back to the same schedule we had last year, which was every other month? Because right now, there's a schedule that says every month.
yeah, but you
Yeah,
can
we-
drop the intervening meetings if necessary, or if there's something that comes up and needs to be met.
So if that's the case, then we'll meet in September.
Okay, awesome. All right, and then you guys can also decide if you, however it works.
Thank you.
Does that work?
That works. Don't need to meet if you don't need to meet.
Okay. And then the facilities committee met, and I believe this is
Sure did.
gonna be, this is
I'm
gonna,
ready for the one part.
this is gonna be a pretty
You want
awesome.
me
You wanna do policy quick and then we'll hop over?
Well,
yours?
policies would be long too.
Oh,
Policies got its own-
all right.
Yeah, I watched both.
I have the facilities component of the project ready to go.
Yep.
I got that.
Yeah, you have that up there.
Yep, I'm ready.
I'll run through the other stuff. You want me to run through the other stuff quick, or you want to do that after?
But why don't we run through it? All right.
So we have a bunch of stuff we're gonna talk about in a minute. That's upcoming capital project stuff that I don't wanna steal Frank's thunder. He did a great job presenting it at the community the other day, so I think you'll enjoy it. We talked about some other stuff though, too, like bids for the tennis courts and running track were in and have been approved, and we're working to get that work done this season. Which will be, no, real-time updates, we don't have to do it, yeah.
Looks like the running track, definitely the tennis court may be more iffy.
More.
That's all I have from Bill.
All right,
After
timing
review.
is tricky. Yeah. All right. We had a playground update where if anyone remembers way back when that was first done, they had included an awesome stage as part of that fundraising, but there were some hurdles getting it through state ed approval, so scrapped it for the time being. Anyway, that's all back, and I think it's mostly in and just waiting on some handicap accessible ramps, right, Frank?
Yeah, there's currently a web story up on our website currently.
Awesome.
Also thanking all the individuals who were a part of that program. And then after the ramp is up, there's going to be a Facebook push out of a full completed project.
Yeah, a really cool one we talked about. We talked about here as well, I think, last month, 2 months ago. Anyway, crossing guard, we had conversations with the Village of Voorheesville. They're gonna put forward $2,500 towards the cost of a crossing guard, up to 3 hours a day. They're gonna cover all training and materials. If you remember back what we talked about before, that person can't work for us, they have to work for the village, but that would be a crossing guard to the elementary school at the crossing for kids ride their bikes to school. There's a lot of them, and people, crossing, walking them. So that's pretty cool. We talked about the contract, and there's some details that are still being worked out there. but
No,
it's pretty
the
much-
contract,
It's
Oh,
yep.
It's on the agenda.
All right,
But can I ask,
yes.
so the village is capped at 2,500, do we have an estimate of the cost above that?
The total cost we estimated was somewhere in the $12,000 range total. So we'd be about 10,000 for our part.
And that'll vary based on the number of actual hours
Correct.
worked, right?
Yeah.
So until they get out there and, actually it could be, maybe it's gonna be an hour a day or maybe 3.
And they also have an employee, and then they also have a backup of the employee. So there is a sub issue, so the safety is still there.
Snow days.
Nowadays, we don't pay for it.
So we also talked about the middle school vestibule project. It's at NICEAD facilities planning for approval. We need 2 approvals. One is remaining. We don't really have a time frame yet. I mean, we talked about, is it possible to do during the school year? Probably not, but maybe. I don't think we'll know until all that's
Who knows when it's going to be approved?
right. Who knows? Also, who knows when it's going to be approved? But that'll either be a next summer thing, or if it's possible to do it sooner, that'd be great. But
We think it might be possible.
Yeah.
We've been looking into it. So, but really now, we went through the multiple phases, and we're just waiting for final approval from SED. But again, this might take a few more months or it could be tomorrow. So we're just really waiting to figure out where that comes from.
Black hole. We have similarly, high school vestibule project. This one, we had some smart schools funding in there. Talk about it a bit, long story short, it's gonna have to wait till later, right?
Yeah, can I just explain that one really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So when I came in, there was a Smart Schools funding program that was already put in, and it was for secured vestibules, but it was technology-based secured vestibules. It really wasn't meeting needs, and it honestly wasn't enough money to do what the district wanted to do at the time. So we tabled it to really look at it further, and we've talked about that over the years. Jim and I have been looking at how do we make this work within our budget without spending any additional money and using monies we have. So we've come up with a solution that we believe is viable, and we're actually pretty happy with it. We're going to use the Smart Schools Fund money that's there. So we'll change that up a little bit, but really it's still for secure vestibules, which the original money was there for. The Smart Schools money, there will be about 40,000 left over from the capital project that we currently have. So phase 1, phase 2, now the vestibule, and then we're going to use that 40,000 left to really use all the voter approved funds to make improvements to our facilities. And then we'll use something called Schedule N, which is safety upgrades and increases. Jim, did I hit all three right?
You hit it right.
Yes. So those three things will be able to cover the project, pay for it all completely without any taxpayer impact, and still allow us to get a secure vestibule. So we're really trying to think, how do we make this work within the constraints that we have? And we feel like we found the solution. So that's still our $100,000 capital outlay project that we do each year. That's, as you know, is reimbursable, similar to our transportation. We did it last year. We're doing another one. That will then allow us to hit BCS items in the high school, middle school this year that are going to be outdated, so we don't have deferred maintenance. So I feel like we're getting our facilities up to where they need to be while hardening our exteriors.
What's the timing on that, Frank?
Again, so we got to put it in the SED. We got the control number now, right? Or we're getting the control
We're
number.
getting a control number. We've put in the letter of intent.
Yep. So we started the process. It's got to go to SED. It could be 6 months in SED, and then hopefully in the summer is our goal, right? For that one.
But that one also, we talked about it, is quite a bit more substantive. than
Yeah, that
the middle
one-
school one, where there's like zero chance of doing that during the school.
Yeah, that one is actually taking that. So we can utilize the middle school framework as we is and just pop a hole in the wall in the middle school because the frames are right and the width is correct. In the high school, we actually have to bump out that whole wall and change that whole entranceway a little bit. So that's going to be a little bit more intensive, but it's needed. And we were able to do it with no cost impact and using the money that is already allocated for the district. And really is set for the district for those purposes. So it works really well.
And the technology of a secured vestibule is what?
So it allows for, the easiest way to do it is you can come in one way, but you can't come into the rest of the building until you get vetted and go through the process. So really that's basically, it creates a fishbowl kind of idea in the middle of that area. And then if you have both of those doors hardened, so you and we're working on getting the window shields, so they don't break easy, because right now they're shattered glass, you hit them, they crack. Those glasses all will have a shield, which our entryways are getting at this moment. That way, if you hit them, they don't crack, and it creates an area. So it really does just create a secure entranceway. If there is a vulnerable threat coming in, it's contained in that area.
That's great.
Wait, I did that really well, really quick. Pretty proud of myself on that one.
Hold on.
Right into the next one now,
Yeah.
because that's where we are.
Okay, so I'm going to do twofold. Jess is going to have it here, but I did want to create an opportunity for the community that is going to watch the video to actually see it as well. So I'm actually going to present for the community at the same time. So I'm hoping I can make this work correctly. So as we've been talking about the facility and the elementary school, you gave me the green light to prepare a resolution to go through it, and the facility's been going on it. So we said, how can we take our existing structures, utilize the land and opportunities that we have to be able to increase and plan for enrollment while making infrastructure upgrades to the district? And we really tried to figure that out. And the number one thing, first and foremost, was transportation, right? I know this has been something that's been going on for years, the parking, the fumes, all the other issues. And now our facility, the transportation facility, has actually been like decrepit over the years. It's getting to the point where it's an unsafe environment for our workers. They can't even get the buses up all the way anymore. It really is becoming an environment that we need to change. So we moved the transportation facility, and I'm going to talk about moving that and where it would go. So this is a two-phase project. One, move transportation facility, and that actually would go out back here, and I'll explain that as we get through the project a little bit more. And again, I'm gonna try to do this in 15 minutes. If you want the full thing,
Watch facilities.
watch
Watch
facilities,
facilities.
because it was about an hour and a half on this.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And the board is gonna walk through on Friday, and we'll be able to really talk about it a little bit more. So that goes into the back, and then the elementary school then becomes an opportunity for us to restructure and reconfigure the building without changing the output of the building. So we're not adding on rooms, we're not changing like the structure, we're just reorganizing and making the building functional. We met with staff at the end of last year. We took a lot of their ideas. Almost everything that they said is actually in this plan. So we're actually happy that we've been able to get input and make it work to a component of where it is. And I'm gonna walk through it. Justin, you go to the next slide. And again, this is small, but the documents are actually up on the agenda, so people can view the documents. And I also have a one-pager. So I'm just gonna go over this very quickly. Anything in yellow and orange is what's getting touched, right? And then I'm gonna read the one page in a minute to you. The next page, that's the first floor. I think the number one important thing that we're looking at doing is, as the transportation facility goes, can you go to the last page? There you go. The transportation facility over on the far corner now becomes a cafeteria. We've done all the chemical stuff, we've all looked at it all, and we actually took care of the flooding issues as well, because the transportation facility is down about 3 feet in comparison to the rest of the building. We actually will raise that up completely about 3 to 4 feet. So that flooding, any issues, gone. We've taken care of that because of that area. It will be all cemented. A lot of cement, but it takes care of that issue. That becomes a self-contained cafeteria with a gang bathroom that can be closed off from the rest of the community, along with a split area. So it's a full kitchen, which right now we don't. We have a prep kitchen. So this is a full kitchen where we can start cooking and doing more things for our students. And it can be shut off by the community and used for 2 different things. That can be a community use area. That means at 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night, they can utilize that area. It's shut off from the rest of the building. And it really does come with really clear community space. In front of that, and I'll show you a picture of that later, they were actually going to build outdoor classroom space. That's going to be like hardscape with boulders and different things for our students. So that would become the cafeteria. The administration and health offices will be moved to the ground floor. That creates a secure vestibule area, because right now the elementary school doesn't have that. It's a pretty bad safety risk at this point, is where you can come in and you can go downstairs or upstairs, and then you have to walk about 50 feet to get to the office. This creates a secure area where it's easy in, easy out, and also the nurse's office will go there as well, where the transportation facility is. Anything we're moving creates space. So if we're moving something, that means it's not where it currently is, and we've already created space because of transportation, so we're creating opportunities for growth and creating opportunities to restructure the building even more. And again, I'm very quick. We went through this in facilities. I'm going to go through this again on Friday. This is a very quick overview because we haven't done the resolution for referendum yet. Our music and art and classrooms will occupy the former cafeteria and rooms across the hall. Right now, the rooms across the hall they're very tiny. They cannot be used for classroom instruction. They're utilized for teacher conferences and for band lessons and for kids club. We're going to take that whole area, bump it all out, create our art and music room areas down there, so that where the art and music rooms that are in the other area, those are not free classrooms. Those become instructional spaces that can be utilized for our new classrooms, maybe UPK in the future, depending on how enrollment goes, because our enrollment is going to go up and then it's going to go down. And so we don't want to add so much to our buildings that 15 years from now, 20 years from now, we have space that we're not utilizing. So this is a really kind of controlled use of what we have. So art and music will go down there with new classrooms. The existing administration hall becomes a guidance suite. That was one of the ideas from the faculty. Jeff, could you go to the second floor? So see where that's orange? Right now where the offices are, that would become guidance. So our social workers, our guidance counselors, our school psychologists, all centered in the health suite. And that really centralizes all of the different things. This was ideas actually from our staff. We have to create that. Rachel.
PT and OT.
They will have their own classroom,
Okay.
because right now we're moving them, and we had to move them this year. They're on a cart and in a smaller room, so we're actually going to be able to get them back into their own classroom.
Okay.
And we're also being able to take the room across from that. We're going to call it a teacher conference area, and that's going to be for embedded PD. And then if we do have an enrollment where we need an extra classroom, that can become a classroom, but we also want to be able to create an opportunity where when teachers are having team meetings, when they're having professional development, they're in an environment that's conducive to them. And right now, they're using the computer lab kind of for that, but that's going to become a classroom next year. So we're really just taking everything and it's just becoming a hodgepodge, just so we can kind of get through it. But anything in orange now becomes work that we're doing. And again, I'm being very, very quick. I hope you understand that. The main stair in the original building will be replaced with new railings, and all the rooms mentioned above will receive new flooring, ceilings, and paint. So all that will be done. And by new railings, I mean actually the whole stair upon entry is actually falling and will need to be replaced. So we're going to take that whole 3 floors of stair out and put all new stairs in. If you walk in, you'll notice that it's starting to kind of, it's a lot of work. It's a ton of work, and it's going to be a lot of planning. But it's going to set that elementary school up for the next 50 years.
That building dates back to
1911.
Yeah, and it hasn't really had that much work.
1911.
It's had, yep.
Wow.
So, and it hasn't had a ton of work done on it. We had to have the addition. I do have alternatives added to this program. We roughly put about $2 million worth of alternatives. That means if we go out to bid and it's less than what the bid is, we're going to add the alternatives in. Some of the alternatives include new bathrooms for the new wings, new cabinetry for those areas. Because they're starting to kind of fall apart, we want to make sure that we could upgrade those as we could. So there are things that we want to do, but that's kind of the issue. Moving on, again, I'm being as quick as I possibly can. Jess, can you go to the 3rd floor? The 3rd floor actually is going to get full air conditioning. What's that? Is that 3rd floor?
Yeah.
Second? I'm not on the 3rd floor. Thank you, Rachel. I said this is going to be a little bit difficult for me to do 2 at once. The 3rd floor is going to get air conditioning. That is an issue that we have at our elementary school now. It's pretty hot this year. We're in the process of getting window film that will hopefully keep down the UV and hopefully lower those temperatures a little bit. But we have a heat index in those rooms where we actually have to move them to other classrooms. The problem is we don't have other classrooms to move them to. So we're just starting to get into issues which is good. This is a good thing that our classes are getting up. We're just running into the issue that we can't accommodate everything that's there. So these are some of the things that we're working on doing. The proposed exterior work at the elementary school, I'm going to go to that now. That's really a lot to look at. I do apologize. But one of the things is if you look at the soccer field, and we've had a Band-Aid work done, we have drainage that runs through the whole soccer field. If you go on the satellite feed of our elementary school and you look down on the satellite, you can actually see its spiderweb. That's all caving in on us. And it's all starting to kind of decay over here. So what's going to end up happening is if we don't address it, our elementary school will just kind of droop into each other, and our soccer field down there will be a real issue. So part of the project is also to fix that. On top of that, we don't have a place now if we move transportation. Again, I'm moving quick, and I do apologize. If you have questions, please ask. Our transportation facility still needs salters. We still need to be able to keep items such as mowers and other things in there. We're going to create in the back lot right now, next to the basketball court, it's basically a shed area garage where we then can keep those materials and options for our students. So that's for our staff. So that stuff will go there.
To be clear of any right away.
Yeah, we're totally fine. It's a right of way, and that right of way is out of the way for it, and we're still going to have our little bit of gravel, but we could take back green space of that area as well. On top of all of that, moving on, next one, yep. That would be kind of, this is a part rendition of the front. Since we're changing the entranceway in the front of the building, where the kitchen actually is now, the start of the kitchen, that one window actually becomes the doorway. So our ADA accessibility isn't the back of the building where the gravel lot is. Our ADA accessibility actually becomes our main entrance because we don't currently have that. Our walkway will go straight through it. All around that area, as you can see, is going to be green space. That's going to be boulders, classroom area, so they can go outside and have classroom space. Have we learned it's important to be able to have classroom instruction outside? It creates an opportunity to do that. Okay. All right, still going. All right, we're going to skip that one, Jess, and go to the next after that. Okay. So, and I haven't gotten to the EPC yet. This is just the project in general, what we're looking at doing. All right, so this is the bus garage. This is the bus facility. It actually would be embedded into the bank of the hill back here. So as we talked about, and I know in the past, the districts looked at utilizing the satellite fields over there. But the problem is that's prime real estate. It's soccer fields, it's flat, it's something that's useful. and it takes away an opportunity or resource of the district. This back here is not used. It's just blank space. We can put a hill in there, as you can see. They put a hill, it's a big giant retaining wall, and we put in a 3-bay bus garage. It's not bells and whistles bus garage, all right? This is a 3-bay metal bus garage. And that will, you know, we're not doing the brick and mortar. Brick and mortar would cost probably double of what the bus garage would cost already. And you do get a lot of years out of a building with this, just the aluminum and iron. It does work. We will have a facility where we can have training. They'll have a, you know, it's basic. It's training, it's a transportation facility for 2 offices, and then we have all that. The other thing we're adding is conduits, because as you know, over the next 10 to 12 years, the state is pushing into electric buses. So we're gonna run all the electric conduit that needs to be done. And so that way we'll be set for the future to make sure that we can have electric buses. So in the next round, grants come up, because we weren't on the list for grants this year. We didn't prioritize in those lists. So when the next grant comes up, hopefully we'll have the ability to be able to already have it, and we'll have our charging stations already built in. So planning for the long term on the bus garage as well. That's good, Jess. We're done with that part. On top of that, we've been talking about an energy performance contract coupled with that work. So the energy performance contract, as we went over, I do want to have the energy performance people, Danforth, come in September to the board to really kind of go over the whole project with you, to talk about the cost savings and everything that's there. So I'm not going to get into the complete aspect of it, but now I don't have the page in this. But in that energy performance contract, we do all new lights. In the elementary school, we were trying to get new lights because we don't want to retrofit. In the high school, it would be retrofitted LED lights. That's cost savings. And then it's a lot of not very amazing new things. It's things that we need. So it's electrical panels, it's control panels that need to get done. They're all part of our BCS over our 5-year that need to be accomplished anyways. On top of our desert air system, which is in our pool area. If you've gone in there and you've seen it, it's a giant system that controls the whole pool that is outdated. It is falling apart, and as part of the BCS, it needs to be replaced. That is a large ticket item. So this is not only going to impact the elementary school, but it also would impact the high school as well. I think that's everything in a nutshell. How did I do, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay. I know on Friday, the board is meeting with the architects and engineers. They're going to walk with us so you can really have an understanding and go through it. Did I miss anything? Do you have any questions?
Question I have, are you hearing anything from the state in terms of supporting the procurement of electric buses?
So there was, I haven't gotten the price yet, by the way. That's my next thing before I give them this. Because that's the rip the Band-Aid off component that we have to talk about. The state did, and there was a grant for federal buses that came out, and it was going out, but we were not on the prioritized list. So there's schools that are prioritized that are able to get these and go through them. Voorheesville does not qualify for that. And even if we could at the moment, we have no infrastructure to be able to do it. And if we were going to put electric buses, why would we put an electric bus in the elementary school with charging station when we're going to tear it all out? So we're not at that component. The next round, they're saying that we will be prioritized for, and that next round of federal funding that's coming should impact directly with where we're doing with our project. So hopefully it will go all hand in hand.
Yeah, I'm less concerned about the money and more concerned about the actual procurement of a electric bus.
I'm hoping in 12 years, they're not $300,000 or 600, right, Jim? How much?
About 400,000 recently, but hopefully that will start going
So
down.
I'm hoping in the next 10 to 12 years, we see a change in electric bus prices, which I believe we will. We're at that phase where they're coming in.
Batteries are getting cheaper.
Yep. So let's talk about money. In the end, there is going to be an aspect of this where we do have to ask for taxpayer funds, right? We just don't have the infrastructure, the revenues coming in where we can be able to say it's not going to be taxpayer dependent. We're not the district to be able to do that. A recent district just did this, Burnt Hills. They had to do a similar thing out to their community as well. I'm going to have Jim go over that point because I don't want to mess it up, but we do have the budget also in your agendas as well. So it's public, you can see it. It's about a $25 million project. The EPC is on top of that, and it doesn't include the $2 million of alternatives that we want as part of the program. The $2 million alternative is the $25 million, and then they would get it into us if we could. it would end up being a 2.5% increase. Jim, do you want to talk about that?
So when looking at this project, the two pieces are separate because when you're renovating, it's 15 years for state aid. When you're building new, it's 30 years for state aid. So the two pieces are treated separately. When we look at putting the $4.5 million of capital reserves against the project, we put it all against the elementary school because that gives the biggest bang for the buck as far as immediacy. So essentially, we're financing a little over 10 million on the elementary school, right around 10 million on the transportation. Those are the estimates right now. And at that point, the debt service is a little under 1.5 million per year. The state aid on that would be right around 900,000 per year. So the difference is about $500,000, which at this point is 2.5% on our tax levy. That's a one-time impact in year one, and then it just continues with very little change. You know, it always goes up 1,000 or 2,000 just based the way they do debt service, but nothing significant until year 16, when the elementary school financing would fall off, and it would only be the transportation garage for the remaining 15 years. And that would have an actual reduction of impact to the taxpayers of 1.1% at that point.
So we've worked diligently to get it to 2.5. It was higher than that across the board, and we've been really trying to get it to the level of that. When you look at our tax levy, and when you look at, I can't think of the word off the top of my head, Jim, I'm sorry.
Tax cap?
Thank you. And when we look at our counties, and that 2.5 actually isn't a full 2.5 depending on where you live, correct?
Well, and that's based on the equalization rate
Right.
that we've talked about. As you see, when you're looking at the tax rates for this year, the true tax rate actually went down significantly because of those equalization rates.
So taking that into impact now seems like the best time for us because we have growth, we have our equalization rates, we have all these things. This is it, right? This is the culminating time to do it, because if we're looking at doing it where we don't have revenue, we don't have growth, and our equalization rates weren't where they are, that 2.5 won't be 2.5, it would be much more. Or you're gonna have to wait to a point where then we're busting out of the seams at our elementary school, and we're not gonna be able to then meet the needs of our community. But it's a pretty conservative project. It's not like, oh, wow, we're gonna build a whole new building. It just restructures and reconfigures based off what our needs are. Questions, thoughts, comments?
I feel like we worked really hard to keep it at 2.5%, and it's hard to cut things for sure.
Yes.
It's not everything.
And you saw you were there when we were trying to, when I got the big buck and how much it was, you saw my face, whoa,
Right.
we have to figure out
There's only
something.
so much we can ask
Yep.
of our taxpayers, and we try to do what we could in the existing footprint, except for the new transportation facility. So, I don't really say I could get much cheaper. And we're already busting out of the seams.
I mean, okay.
I wouldn't take anything for granted, but I think people will be supportive of the idea of moving the buses out of the elementary school area. It always seemed kind of odd to have them driving in the actual garage right there.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that people will be supportive of.
I believe that's something that I've heard for a long time, that
Yeah.
people want it out of there. I mean, I've lived here for 17 years and I've heard it for 17 years.
Yeah.
But also another thing about that component is no more buses will be backing up.
Right.
And really, that's not a safe thing. Right now, our buses back up and go back, where it's gonna allow for a good turnaround, it's gonna allow for different parking. So there's a lot of positives that come out of this.
Won't it also allow us to purchase buses at whatever size we want instead of being limited by the size of the garage?
Sure.
In part, yes, but we can accommodate up to a 72 passenger bus. It's not, it's very
not
tight.
safe to work on it.
Yeah, it's not super safe. But,
Yeah,
yeah. But again,
I know.
we have to look at making decisions that will impact us far after we're here, right? And this kind of really sets the district up to where we can then make sure that, 50 years down the road, they can still have a sound building that is up to where our students and community deserve.
That's it.
So next steps, after you guys look at it, have more conversation, I'm gonna have Danforth come out. And then they're going to speak to us at our next board meeting in September. If the board then chooses so, I would like to have a special meeting in September to propose a referendum, to go out for a vote, and then we would do, if the board chooses, to do a vote in November. It would be 45 days afterwards, hopefully around November 15th, and we would then do it at that point in time. Is there anything that you want me to look at, to kind of assess as we're going through it? Or do you want to wait until Friday when you actually see the building and understand a little bit more and then have that conversation?
I feel like we've seen everything in the facilities, so.
When you do something like this, does, I don't know if it's the architect or somebody else, do they typically do a public presentation?
So we're going to go to the 9 on this one. You know, after you, if you say, yes, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do public presentations, key communicator groups. We're gonna be going out. So a key communicator group is, we're gonna take members of the community that come in. They're then going to go out to the community, talk about it, then come back to me, have conversations of what they're hearing, what's going on. And we're really gonna try making sure that we sell this as every way we can, because we don't want just our community who is here, our parents to know about it. We need everyone. We need the senior citizens who are gonna be voting on this project, the ones that are gonna be, you know, helping with the taxes. We want everybody to know. So they're gonna do a presentation, but that's only one small component of it. You know, we'll do boards, we'll do the whole 9 yards, of everything that we need to do to make sure that they know about this
This
project.
is probably a Jim question, but senior citizens whose taxes are frozen, are they impacted by it?
Well,
I should know the answer to
that depends on how much Enhanced Star goes up and things like that.
that. Yeah.
I mean, and also the equalization rates do affect that as well, so.
I would like a better understanding of what the extras are, because I have my own sort of wish list of extras. We don't have to talk about it now,
Okay,
but,
Let's wait till after Friday.
yeah, no, let's get through Friday. and talk about it, but
We'll walk through and talk to the engineers and architects. And
I can be patient until Friday.
You can also see some of the things we had to cut if you watch facilities.
Yeah,
And I imagine a lot of those items are right on the
Right.
list of if we could add them back.
right. And this is, again, this is not a high school project or middle school project or facilities project that hits our high school, middle school facilities. It really is elementary school and the building itself. And that's what we're looking at, what we could do. If there could be any changes or infrastructure, it could, but again, it's all, this is very set 25 million. The extras that are put in are really for the elementary school, and they're new ceilings. I mean, it's floors, it's cabinetry,
Functional stuff.
it's functional things that are built into it.
but you won't get rid of those art tiles.
Well, they're gonna pull them down and then put them back up.
Okay. Thank
I
you.
mean, of course, AC for the whole building would be
AC for the whole building.
a dream, but
Yeah,
it's not,
yeah.
it just, it didn't make the cut.
I do think there are some safety improvements that should be highlighted. I mean, when you talk about having the entranceway reconfigured so that you can go in, it can be done safely, anybody can get in there easily.
Yeah.
All that stuff is, and as much as I like the aesthetic improvements, I don't know if people are gonna care that much about that, but I think they're gonna like the fact that this front of the building looks so much better.
I did forget PA system, you know, centralized clock system. I forgot some of those not very fancy
But
things.
also like just the logistics of having folks gathered together where the nurses, you know, it just, I think it'll also help the functionality of the school.
Yeah, if there's other things that you want to look at or you want us to explore, I'd be more than happy to do it.
Yeah, the
But
science
that
stuff.
2.5 is, that's really everything that I just went through. There's really not a lot of wiggle room on that. The alternatives are the only thing that's wiggle room. And those are, you know, unless we get donations, right? So I want to state that if someone says, well, you know what, I want to give you $1.2 million to build a stadium over in the, because by the way, that's how much it would cost. A stadium over in our satellite fields. By all means, I'll take that 1.2 million and we'll put it as part of that project. You know, I would totally do it, but you know, it really, this is based off of what we currently have. I don't know if that's that we have.
Sounds like the architect really got it. They listened carefully to what the staff had to say, saw the flow that was needed and the improvements that were needed. Looks like they did a really nice design.
Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised and happy with the project, the outcome. So it's taken a long time to get to this point. So, all right. Rob, I did that in way less than I did last time.
Yeah.
The hour and 15 minutes got
Yeah.
cut down there.
That's all.
All right, so that's it for facilities then?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So I had the distinct joy of watching both of those meetings. And am really impressed by what's been going on in the committees. And now I want to move it to policy. And I have to say, it was really weird to watch the policy meeting and be like, oh, you guys got this. And it was awesome. You guys did a lot of great work in that one as well. So,
Okay. I guess a quick question, do you want me to like go through the policies that are on the action items in detail now, or wait till we get to the action item? And anyone on the board? Just a Rachel question, like, is it
Yeah.
easier for me to give you an overview
I'd
of
say
what we
just-
talked about and then do the actual, there's a lot of discussion with some of these policies.
yeah, we're gonna have to discuss them.
So do I do
as
that
well.
now as I update you or wait for the
Let's-
action?
Let's do that and then you can just point out, because I think there's only one action item, right? And then the rest are first reads.
Okay, true. There's a lot of discussion. Okay.
So let's do you
Do
do
all the
this.
discussion right now?
Let's discuss.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so we had two major groups of policies. One only involved one policy, which is considered a revision, and we will vote tonight, and that's policy 2150, filling board vacancies.
So,
And actually, all the policies we're talking about tonight, except for the brand new one, have not been touched at our district since 2003. But there have been NISBA updates that have happened that we haven't stayed current with. And so we decided as a committee to just, as our starting place, go with the recommended NISBA language. So if you try to like look at our old policy versus what we have tonight, it's not like a neat edit and cross out. So that's a starting point, just so everyone knows. So for policy 2310, which we're voting on tonight, it really is just a revision. And the major changes we had to, actually there wasn't a major change. It does reference another policy.
wait, is it
I'm
2150?
looking at the wrong one. Ignore all that. Policy 2150, filling board vacancies, there was no major changes, but we did update to the NISBA recommended language. So it's just a revision.
Yes.
If people have questions now, before we vote,
Nothing changed in substance.
okay. And then the other group that there'll be discussion on, all kind of lumped together. That's policy 2310, which are the regular meetings, 2325, which would be a new policy called video conferencing. Policy 2340 is the notice of the meetings, and policy 2360 is the minutes of the meetings. And we've already had 2310, 2340, and 2360, all the ones except for video conferencing. But we decided to consider them all a first read tonight, so we can just discuss them all because they're all interrelated and they all reference each other. But 2325, the video conferencing one, is the one that has a lot of discussion for tonight. But let me start with 2310, the regular meetings. There really was no major change. It does add reference to the new policy 2325, but nothing else changed really from our existing policy, except we updated to the new language. Then when we get to 2325, this is would be a new policy for us. It's video conferencing of board meetings. And technically, we're already kind of practicing the first part of this policy, but we didn't actually have a policy surrounding it on our books. But it is already existing law that we were practicing under. So we are giving the opportunity, so that's part one of video conferencing. So if you look at the policy, there's a number one, and then there's a part two. Part two is a new opportunity afforded to us because of the change in the New York State open meeting laws. And tonight's discussion really would be if we wanted to incorporate part two to our policy, if we wanted to stick with the existing rules of part one, but it would still be a new policy for us, which is kind of confusing, but only a new policy because we didn't have it, even though we were doing it.
Would you like to share?
Also umbrella all of this is that we're operating under a state of emergency executive order. And that actually did just get extended one more time. And now the deadline is 9/12, so September 12th.
Our next meeting.
Trish, can I give like the 3-second overview of it? So there's 3 video conferencing laws that are currently in effect. The old video conferencing, which all boards do, and still can do, and will go back to, is where if Tim's not gonna be here because he's gonna, I'm using you, Tim, because you're sitting next to me. If Tim's not gonna be here because he's in California for a meeting and he's at a hotel, Tim can be a part of the video conference, be a part of quorum. All he has to do, we have to say where Tim is, and he has to have it open where he currently is and have it posted. Therefore, that's the current video conferencing.
When you
That's
say
it.
open, explain that.
Open means that if somebody wants to be in California and go see where Tim is, Tim has to be able to do that.
You have to be in a space that is available to the public.
Correct. Not for executive, executive's different.
Right.
But for open, that's what that sort of means. And so boards have done that for a long period of time, and it would go back to that. Then we're in the COVID one. COVID time is basically the video conferencing that you see now. You can do video conferencing, people can come in, still count as quorums, and it doesn't have to be posted. That's gonna go away. The third point is something the board can choose to do, whereas a resolution, and this is where it gets very convoluted and very complicated, is that it's called for extraordinary circumstances. A board would pass a resolution to state, yes, we can do it. And then there's a whole bunch of laws that guide that. So let's say that I'm a board member and I can't be here because extraordinary circumstances are childcare. I'm home. I won't count as a quorum because I'm not there, and it won't be public because it's not there. And so that is one of the issues that comes along with it. Another issue that comes along with it is that means that since I can't be there, that means we have to live stream what we're doing, and we also have the opportunity for public to be heard as well. So it changes the technology component. The older law is you don't have to live stream it. You don't have to do those things because it's just like you're present. And there's a lot more that goes into that, but that resolution is the board's decision to do it, and it's not as cut and dry as what we currently have. And that goes for committee meetings as well. Committee meetings, it's a quorum of the board, even though the board's not making any decisions, so you have 3. And let's say there are 2 people that
It's
can't.
not a quorum.
It's not a quorum, but what our attorney said and NISBA stated to me is that since it's a board committee and there's 3 people, that if there can't be there, you can't have a meeting because you really can't have a meeting only with 1 person. There's still no power, they're still not voting, but it's still have it. So instead, we just post it, say it's in my office and come, and then that's how it is. Video conferencing, same idea for committee. If you couldn't be here, but you wanted to be a part of it, we would just say where you are, and we go back to the old way. So that's why I think Trish and we wanted to have that conversation is on the resolution
Right.
and the extraordinary circumstances component. Did I do that?
I agree. The basic difference is if you're not gonna be here and it's public, and open to the public, it's one set of rules. If it's not open to the public, it's another set. And then there's ripple effects of that where we kept reading it and we're like, wait a minute, what?
It's still confusing.
And I think the intent, I'm sure the intent was good, that it will definitely change the way we've been trying to do things, which we finally figured out and got pretty smooth at it. We can't do it that way anymore. Unless people are comfortable if they can't be here and we have quorum present physically and they're open, you want to stream in and you want to make your location open to the public, it's all the old rules and it's a lot easier. So tonight we have to decide if we want to try to do the second part where we could allow one of the board members or one if it's a committee. So quorum right now, we have 6 people. So I guess 2 people could stream in.
3, right?
Well, right now we have 6.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
So
If
a
we
quorum
do
of
the
the
new way,
board, a quorum of the board has to be present.
Present. And then if you're calling in and you're not public, open to the public, you can vote and participate, you don't count toward quorum.
Well, you can't vote.
But you can't vote.
Right.
You can.
You can vote.
You
You
can
can
fully
vote.
participate.
You can fully
Yeah.
participate and fully vote, you just don't count as quorum. There
Right,
has to be 4 people physically present in the location.
Hmm.
I talked to NISBA and our attorneys, and
Yes.
everybody's still confused by it, by the way. Just to
That's
be
why.
clear.
So you just
I
don't
think
count
I think
towards
if you
yeah.
forget the voting part, and just say, to have a meeting of the board, you have to have at least 4 members physically in the room. Gotta have a quorum in the room.
So for special meetings, we
Yeah, we
can't
can't
stream
do
them
that
anymore.
anymore.
Correct. After the 12th.
Unless they're open to the, unless,
No, you
unless
have to
all
have
of
at
our
least
No,
areas
four.
are open to the public.
Correct.
Right. Oh, we can.
Yeah.
You still have to have quorum present physically.
No, not if you go by the old way.
I have a
what
couple
Rob was
couches in my
saying.
living room.
It's completely open. Like if you go by the
Right,
old.
we can still do that as long as wherever each of us was
No,
open,
you
to-
have to have a physical quorum.
was open to the public.
I don't,
Our
have to have a
our
primary
policy can be what you just
you
said.
have to have a primary location with quorum present
For both? So what's the
for the
difference then?
first part, for both parts.
No, well, I think under the old rules, as long as each location is advertised, included in the meeting notice, and open to the public, then we could
Right.
all be remote.
We could all be in a separate
That's,
location.
that's
Yeah,
old,
that's
that's
old.
pre-COVID,
That's the
that's pre-emergency
existing-
order.
I could look at it again. but-
That is correct.
Mhm.
Yeah, old video conferencing. So let's say you have 6 board members and 4 of those board members are, or 3 of those board members are all over the country in hotels, and they open that up, that is okay. You don't have to have a quorum physically present. It's only underneath the extraordinary circumstances where then it becomes different. So you have, that's why I wanted to preface the whole conversation with those 3 components. Old, and we shouldn't even call the new one video conferencing because it really
Yeah.
isn't.
I know.
There should be a different name for it. It's video conferencing, COVID times, and Extraordinary
Meeting
circumstances.
logistics. So extraordinary circumstances is the only one that limits you from full participation, being counted as part of the quorum.
Well, you
But-
can fully participate, but you're not.
Right, but you're not part of the quorum. So if you were home because of childcare, but you were you weren't quarantined, or whatever, you were willing, whatever. it is,
Able to open your location to the
You're able to
public.
say, come join our chaos and sit here while we have a meeting, then
That's
that's
all.
fine.
I would have to check with our attorneys to confirm that a domicile would count as an open public area. So
But that's where,
I would have to confirm that. Honestly, like if that's a question that, you guys are posing, I don't know if a domicile would count as an open public area.
Couldn't we have our own policy, put all this aside for a moment, have our own policy that says, we're not gonna hold a meeting unless 4 of us, at least, are physically present.
But that's just the old
that's
rules.
what, yeah.
You could just stay to the old, and I think that what you guys can choose is, you don't have to do the new one. That's what, like
That's what
I've
I'm
been
saying.
told. You don't have
I
to.
don't see a huge, this is my opinion, if people want to hear it. I don't really see the huge benefit of us doing the new section unless someone's not comfortable, if they can't be here to say your location's open to the public.
I think the intent was, let's say somebody has COVID, right?
Yeah.
And they can't open their location to the
That's
public, but they still want to participate. That would fall under the extraordinary circumstances, and they could still fully participate in the meeting, but remotely.
Yeah.
I think that was the intent.
Well, and there is an additional piece in there about if there's a declared state disaster emergency or local state of emergency. I mean, let's say,
Then all-
a tornado came through and damaged a building, we have to hold a board meeting. We could now do that without having to have a physical quorum,
Correct.
all remotely, under the extraordinary circumstances.
Right, and that applies
So that
whether
is
we pass the
It's a little
resolution or not.
Mhm.
Right, so we don't need to.
Oh, that
pass
applies
this-
whether we adopt it
Yeah.
as policy.
Exactly.
That applies to the old.
But if we use the old rules of you gotta have 4 people physically present, then it doesn't, worrying about whether or not somebody's gonna be counted as a quorum doesn't matter as long as we say, we're not gonna have a meeting unless there's 4 people in the room. And then you other people, as long as you abide by the rules, you can participate virtually. Gotta have it made public or whatever we've gotta do, and the extraordinary circumstances can prevail. But we won't hold a meeting unless we have that physical site. I realize there's gonna be the tornado possibility.
Right, but if you put that in
all
policy,
through.
then what do you do if there's an emergency like that?
Yeah, we
So
don't really have. the
why would
Then you have the extraordinary one if you need to. I would support the extraordinary circumstances, but this one of making this whole thing about video conferencing, the first level, I wouldn't worry about that.
You just kind of just said, you were saying you want extraordinary circumstances, you want the new part too?
It would only be that, only that part. There's 2 parts in this this policy. One is on video conferencing, I'll call it, and one is on extraordinary circumstances. Am I correct?
Well, it's all video
It's
conferencing.
tied together.
They are tied together, but one has different rules than the other.
Correct.
And I would go, say, the extraordinary circumstances, that makes sense. There may be a time when we can't get together physically and we gotta make a decision.
But
that's
that
not
does
That
not,
exists.
yeah, no, so if you're using the extraordinary circumstances, that's for one, let's say one, maybe two, up to three, right, members.
If
Okay.
we
Because we would still have to
You
have
still have to have.
4 present in person
Okay.
to constitute a quorum if you're using that emergency circumstances resolution. So we. I
Well, yeah,
don't
but it
believe
says the
in
in-person
policy.
quorum requirement does not apply if there's a state of
If
emergency.
there's a declared state of emergency, that's a separate
That's not
provision.
And
But
can
now-
I just say one quick
yeah.
thing?
Go ahead.
You actually don't need the policy
Right,
because it's law and regulation.
exactly.
So
Right.
I just want to make sure, like, so the video conferencing is already there, it's already law, so is the emergency. That, you don't even need to approve that policy because it's already there, you don't have to, right? The state even says, you don't need it in your policy handbook because it's already law. It's the other component that you have to worry about, is the extraordinary circumstances,
Mhm.
because those things are already there and they always will be there. The extraordinary circumstance is the one that's not.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure we all understood
Yeah, it
that.
gets really
That's
confusing
law,
really
it's
quick.
so
Right,
confusing.
and if we use the extraordinary circumstances, then we need to provide the technological
Yes.
capacity for someone who's viewing a live stream to participate in public comment,
Absolutely. And that's something
which
we don't
introduces a whole other
Yeah,
limit
that's
to
a
how
complication.
we do this.
If we can't overcome it, but.
Right,
What
let's
is
think about-
the value of, what is the value of doing that?
I guess
Good
what Archie
question.
was saying,
It's so that somebody who can't open their location
Yeah.
to the public can still participate.
What is the likelihood of that being an
that
actual?
would probably
So-
happen, but we could obviously operate without one person if we had to.
And that they would,
Or if they could open their location to public, it's not.
yeah,
In general, when I first read this, I'm like, of course, the more flexibility we have, the better, but then the more we studied it, we're like, it's really
See, I had the
not
opposite
very
reaction.
flexible.
The first time I read it, I was like, no way.
it's like
So-
proportion.
Does.
I'm just sitting here thinking, so every special meeting that we have for just 5 minutes or 10 minutes, everyone's gonna have to gather.
Quorum is gonna.
But
Yeah.
that was done before, like,
That's
you know,
supposed
or
to
you've
be.
been doing those
I
We
know,
for,
always
I've
did that
gotten
you do the
spoiled.
7:30 meeting, you have the special meeting really
Yeah.
quick, and
We all come in at 7.
those have been meetings
Yep,
for,
I know,
as long as I've been in
yep.
this business.
So
Yeah, it's
15,
just a change of what we're currently doing. in practice,
and would
but
it impact committee meetings or will those?
It
the
will.
commi-
Well,
That's
committee
the
meetings
real-
will be in person, that's the, I mean, we
So
really do, like, I
committees-
gotta be honest, policy meeting virtual is
works.
fantastic,
It's
right?
is.
to the technology, we can all use our home systems.
Yeah,
And you have all the
Yeah,
screens
It's a
up.
but
little
like-
funky, but we'll
but
figure it out.
I do wanna state though that, you know, we have to have the conversation about the one board committee that has not board members on it. That one I'd have to confirm that they could still video conference in. If the board is in, and then we do a video conference in of those people, I think that's doable,
It
right?
sounds
Because
good.
we have our curriculum committee involves a teacher and also another administrator. That means after the time of their day, right?
Yes.
So I think that one is possible, as long as the board is present in the room, it's their meeting, they're inviting those people and they're not truly
Yeah,
members.
they're guests.
So they're guests.
I think
So
it's
I
fine.
think that one, I would confirm
So
that
what about
if the
you?
board isn't gonna do the
But I'm
extraordinary
a member of the
circumstances.
You're a guest,
Apparently not.
But not according to the policy, I'm a member of it.
according to the lawyer. I don't know.
Yeah, we can talk to a lawyer or change.
Yeah. You might wanna be a guest.
A member guest.
No, I want to be a member.
You wanna be a member? Okay.
So, but that's something that
Okay.
the board can talk, so we could just
We
do them
might.
all in person. I mean, literally, they just back to the old ways of
Or you
in-person
could do
meetings.
it from,
If the executive order
Oh.
expires.
Okay.
Yeah.
That we have to.
Easy.
okay.
So.
If we went with
Did
the
that clear
in-person.
everything up?
I think it sounds like most people think we go with section 1 and not do section 2, the new offering.
We're not gonna do a resolution.
This is a first read,
but-
but
Yeah.
for our second read, that would.
The-
we're
the
like-
policy-
we're like-
For guidance for how do we write this?
Yes.
If we write it, right, we could decide we don't need a policy.
Yeah,
We can just follow the law, we don't really have to have,
Correct.
yeah. It almost feels easier.
Yeah.
The
It
the
also
big, I
feels a
think the
little
big
bit like a
change
moving
here,
target.
really the big change is probably committees. where we were doing most of these virtually, and now we're gonna have to do them virtually.
Well, we
But that has nothing
originally
to do
were
with
doing
this.
them in person, and
That's
now
right.
we have to go
That's
back
right.
to
That's
going.
right.
That doesn't really have anything to do with this policy.
No,
That's just the executive order.
but our practices have to go back, I think are really going back to the way it used to be,
Well, back to normal.
back to normal. yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And to continue on, so the next policy is 2340 is notice of the meetings. And the NISBA recommendation, as you're looking at it, there's a new paragraph in there if you're adopting the section 2, which if we're not, that we just wouldn't include that. The part that's already using section 1, which is existing law, there's a little bit of change that would be a little bit of a new practice for us, that if we are using video conferencing to conduct a meeting where remote locations are open to the public, we just have to put that in our notice that we are going to have someone that's off campus but open to the public. So it's not a big deal, but just something that would be a change of our practice, and that is the only thing I noticed in the notice of the meetings.
Well, they do make reference in that second last paragraph about extraordinary circumstances, and I'm not sure we're going there, right?
Right, that's right, yeah. So I was saying they have NISBA has a paragraph in there that would do the new section 2, which if we're not doing, we would not include that paragraph.
Right.
Yeah, and I wanted just 2 quick questions about the committee meetings, because we have folks who we look at as members, and our policy recognizes members, but it sounds like Ryan, the lawyers are suggesting they are not considered official members, so they would have flexibility.
Unless your policy states otherwise, so
Okay, so-
policy is governance, so
So
they
their,
have to look
their
at the policy.
membership,
Yeah.
we see them as full members, so then therefore they are considered full members. But the other question I have is, will we be continuing to make a record? Because I think that fits in with the minutes
We
component.
haven't gotten to that yet, Rachel.
Oh, sorry, I'm really so excited.
Are you trying to head up
Spoilers.
policy?
No, I'm not. I'm just excited about it.
So that leads us to the last policy, 2360 on minutes. Okay,
Thank you.
so I'm just gonna jump to the very end of the policy first, because this is a new. And the policy says unabridged video or audio recordings or unabridged written transcripts can be used as minutes and made available to the public as such. And since our current practice is that we record every single meeting and post it, technically that could count as our minutes, just so people keep that in mind. Also in this policy, the NISBA language, there is a paragraph that we would only include if we were gonna do the new section 2 of the video conferencing. So I would not put that in the second read if we're not gonna do that. And also you'll notice, and this was already law and not necessarily our practice, but if you're not recording and you're doing written minutes and presenting those as your minutes, they technically have to be online within 2 weeks of the meeting. And even if they're not approved yet, you then just mark them draft. And then you can change those as they're approved if the draft minutes are different than the approved minutes. So the fact that we record every meeting with our owl here, those technically could be our minutes, but we also, as a committee, we're having a discussion that some people still would like maybe the written minutes in addition. Which we could do, and we wouldn't really have to worry about this 2-week rule because as long as we post the recordings right away. But I just want to make sure the board was aware of that. So I guess the only time we'd have to really worry about this 2-week thing is if for some reason our recording didn't work and we couldn't post that as our official minute. That is all I think that was in this policy. Jumped out at me, and that was my last one. And RG and Tim were there, so what did I miss?
Good job.
Good.
That was-
It was a heck of a first meeting.
That is just holy cow.
So those are all first reads. I'll bring them back, I guess, with the suggestions without the section 3 for the next meeting, if everyone's comfortable with that.
When's the next policy meeting?
Next policy meeting.
Sometime.
I don't know that.
Is it before the September 12th meeting? I don't know.
Let me switch my glasses.
That's an interesting question because of the September 12th deadline.
Oh, because of
Oh,
that.
for the-
I have September 22nd.
Okay.
I hope that's right, but I
And
appreciate
that's
it.
September 22nd, you are correct.
Okay, so we can be impacted by things that we don't yet entirely have a policy. That's okay.
We'll be close.
We'll roll with it. Okay, are there any other questions from folks who are not on policy? Of the three of us?
No.
Okay. Wow, there's a lot to hear. I feel like I watched it again and again.
Yes.
Pick a fine time to leave the policy committee.
Yay. Okay. So with that, we've concluded our review of old business and we move on to new business. So we have a discussion ahead of ourselves with 7.1. And I feel like, thank you to the facilities and policy committee for your work. That's a lot. So we have a vacant board seat. And we had one several years ago. The board has several options legally available to us. And I'm going to just state them so that they're all in front of everybody. The options are as follows. Choose a former board member. Choose a person who ran for a board seat but was unsuccessful. Choose an active committee member. Review and accept applications or letters of interest, and then interview or select an appointee from those who respond. Or we may choose to hold a special election to fill the seat. We have 90 days to fill the seat, or else Frank can step in after that 90-day period and plop someone in there.
This is the district superintendent.
Yeah.
District,
BOCES.
sorry.
Yeah, not me.
Right.
Oh, the
Yeah.
district, sorry, BOCES,
Anita.
yes.
Yep.
Anita Murphy would,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I always thought it was.
I can't appoint my own boss.
Why not? It's always, you choose your spouse. So we, at this point, decide, or Ms. Murphy decides. And I think one way we could do this is have everyone ask any question that they have and then go around and say what they think of the idea, or we can have a conversation. So are there any questions?
Yeah, quick question and comment. I think what you're reading from, though, that's a letter from our attorney,
Yes.
right? So just to clarify, we really have two options. Either we appoint or, well, sort of.
Mhm.
We appoint, we have an election, or we don't do our job and somebody does our job for us.
Yes.
But when you were going down that list there, I think our attorney had like an order of preference for what is the most preferable. So
Yes.
when you were going down the list of, former board member, et cetera, like that's per the recommendation.
It's not necessarily an order of, but these are, basically the attorney said, in our opinion, the best option is to select a person who's previously been on the board. And this ensures that the person can step in without the need for training. Or the alternative, I would point out that other boards have chosen to appoint active community members or accept applications. But basically that's straight from the attorney and based on their
Right.
experiences.
Right,
Right.
But yes, so
The-
all the options I gave, really it's elect or appoint.
Right, and the policy, the draft, with the revisions that we're putting forward tonight include the three options Rob mentioned. We
Yeah.
appoint, we hold a special election,
Mhm.
or we
Or
do nothing and risk the district's BOCES superintendent appointing someone.
Yes,
That's what we're putting.
yes.
And what was sort of broken out there were sub-options. And again, I think in the letter from the attorney,
Common practices.
they recommend, for example, appointing a former board member, if there is one who would, for probably some obvious reasons of there's quite a bit of ramp up, it's not a full term, that they can hit the ground running, that sort of a thing. And then next would be what community member and sort of taking applications and then, I seem to remember from the last time we did this, election was way down on the bottom of the list for lots of reasons, including
A special
cost and,
Yeah,
special
especially.
election.
If there's a cost, I think we figured at that point, I remember it was in the $2,000 to $3,000 range, just,
Yeah, I mean,
but-
there's logistics, there's.
but I
putting
think it's
away.
probably gone up because everything has.
Can I ask about the special elections? If we're gonna have a vote in November on the capital project, I have no idea if the timing works right, but is that an opportunity? If we
That's
wanted to do
over
special-
90 days.
It's too late,
Yeah.
okay. Over 90 days,
From
Today.
August 1st.
Right.
Oh,
When
no,
we
it's
were
August
targeting that,
17th.
Yeah, okay.
barely.
Well, real
It's
close.
right
No,
there.
it's not. I don't even know the notice you need for like petitioning.
Just barely, 89.
Yeah.
Move up the vote.
Yeah, we'd be dancing with the statutory.
I'm not necessarily.
Don't even start.
The vote's got
That's
to
the
be
thing,
45
is the
days.
vote in November is not yet scheduled.
No,
No, yeah, and also we
I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there.
No.
That we have a weird situation right now, and I
Mhm.
just wanna throw that out there for us to.
It adds a certain something.
yeah, my personal 2 cents on that, and just me, is that's kind of even more reason to stay away from a special election. If we are really focused on driving messaging for, improving, kind of muddies the waters there a bit, as well as it'd be nice to have a new board member before that happens. Plus, 90 days if we're right on the edge, right?
Yeah.
It would, you either end up with 2 elections, or, two votes, or,
It could be risky.
having to, try to stage the timing of when we, I think we don't know exactly what the timing for that vote will be yet, but we want it to be when we want it to be, right, and not have to move that based on, say, that.
I think it's
Yeah,
risky.
just my personal,
I think it's risky too.
Yeah.
timing. It's
Yeah.
just-
Okay.
I think we should look at this as an opportunity.
Yeah, are there any other questions? Okay, let's go around and, Tim, you wanna start?
Yeah, I think we should look at it as an opportunity. I could go either way. If we know somebody who's like the obvious choice for an appointment, great. But I like the idea of going out and asking for applications, because you just never know who might throw their name in the hat, and somebody who you had not expected, who has great credentials and brings something to the table. So I could go either way, if somebody had a great idea about an appointment, but probably lean towards application of community members.
RG, you wanna go next?
Yeah, I think there's, the cost of holding a special election. I'm not comfortable not doing nothing and leaving it to the BOCES superintendent, right? We can run a process to select somebody. I'm in favor of doing an appointment process. And to Tim's point, I think we have a lot of very capable members of our community who hopefully one will step up and join us for a short amount of time and maybe run for the seat for the whole term.
Robin?
I agree with both RG and Tim, and the timing wise, I feel like it cuts it really close. I obviously don't want the cost of the special election, so I do think it would be good to get letters of interest, see who's out there that would like to do it. And like you said, since it would be a short term.
That's what they told me too.
Same, appointment is the only thing that seems to make the most sense.
All right, so when you guys are saying appointment, are you saying not reaching out to someone or on our
No, I
own?
think
or
we
you
do, I
saying
think we
full-
do the same process that was done when Tim joined the board by appointment. We put out a
I
call for
think it's an
letters of
application.
interest.
Then appointment, yeah.
an
No, but,
application.
okay, so the other one was choosing someone, so,
I don't like the option of pick from these different things that boards have done in the past. I think we can run a process where we solicit interest,
Mhm.
put out an application similar to
Okay.
the one that was used a couple of years ago, and receive applications and consider them, and as a board vote and select someone.
okay. I just want to be completely clear on what everyone's saying, so.
And people on that, of your list that you read, they can apply if they're interested.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, if we're going around
So,
me,
yeah.
you went, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Obviously also appointment, but I, again, number one recommendation from the attorney, previous board, I don't know, maybe there wouldn't be a previous board member who would be interested, but it sort of gives us a quicker avenue and, is a direct recommendation for, what's sort of the best thing, and easiest thing for us, getting somebody up and running. You know, I guess I would be in favor of seeing if that is an option, if people were open to it, and if it's not, having a fall through of, you know, solicit applications from the community in general.
But that could be an understood method of selection.
Oh, like an understood
That if
criteria?
folks are submitting an application, then the board would suggest that we are likely to choose someone who has already served on the board if an applicant, a prior board member is an applicant.
Right.
Correct. The only thing is, I think we,
Qualification.
Right.
I think we're able to fill the seats significantly faster if we did that, if that was available to us, rather than using that as a qualification. And, you know, because when soliciting applications, you need to have a deadline to get open for a period of time. So if that was an option, and I don't even know if it is, there could be nobody we would want, or nobody who's interested, or nobody who, you know, who knows?
Yeah.
But just, you know, again, throwing it out there since it's sort of top line recommendation, and because it would be quick, right?
Right. The next step in this process is we make a resolution now and vote on it. And so, we don't need to wordsmith too much, but, so basically our options are, it seems like nobody wants to do an election. And we cut it close, we could mess up the
Mhm.
process, so let's just
And
push that one aside.
complicate a referendum that.
That is
Mhm.
another
To get
important, right, so let's just assume we're going with some sort of appointment. We're either submitting a call for, or sending out a call for applicants, or we are choosing someone existing and then submitting the call, and it sounds like,
Can we do both?
Yeah, we can do
Well,
it at the
That's
same
what
time.
you do a call for applications.
Mhm.
If somebody knows somebody who might be a former board member, you might give them a call, tap them on the shoulder, say, hey, why don't you put your name in the hat?
Yeah.
Okay, and now we got that on the list.
Yeah.
But I think a call for applications opens it up to
Mm-hmm.
the community. It tells them that we're open to new blood, new thinking.
Yeah.
Fresh face. I think that's the way to go.
So is that, the application doesn't have to be egregious?
Do we know how long we left it open last time? I think, was it 30 days? Was it?
Couldn't tell you.
That's not.
I vote shorter if we go.
Our typical job postings are 2 weeks.
2
I think
weeks.
2 weeks ought to do it, especially if we really blast the information.
So can we, either way, get to the point where we could have an appointment by the September board?
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna have, don't we have a special meeting potentially between now and the near future?
We have to have a meeting to do a referendum for the resolution by the end of September in order to do a November vote. So yes.
Okay, so, well, by the end of September, it could be September 12th,
It'll be a
but we
September
could,
board.
we could theoretically do applications, it's the 17th. So that gets us to the 1st of September. And then we could have a meeting like the week prior, you know. But we've already decided we do not have meetings the first day of school, absolutely not.
We have a September 12th board meeting.
Right, so,
That's your order of circumstances.
yeah, no, we had a committee meeting the first day of school, it was not a good plan. Even that whole first week is kind of bonkers to do meetings. It just doesn't do too well. So we can figure out the timeline for that and let folks know, but we could have it be open for only about 2 weeks and hopefully be able to figure this out. It does kind of coincide right there with the opening of school.
If we
Yeah.
can make the appointment on September 12th, which is our next regular meeting, there's not an emergency here.
Mhm.
No pressure to have this new person added to the board immediately.
Mhm.
That gives us enough time to go out there and seek applications.
Mhm.
Then come in. I don't know what process is used to review and determine what our recommendation is, but we could have that done by September 12th.
We
We
would just
might-
need an executive
We
session.
need an executive
prior
session
to-
and we'd want to have The review is because it's similar to personnel, we want to have that done in executive, but we'd also want to be able to contact people.
And I don't believe,
So you don't want to have that like, done in a way that's.
Couple days. September
Fr-
12th.
But we're running up against the opening of school.
Yeah,
year, so
September
that's-
6th.
Yeah, and
So
we
could-
have a teacher and a superintendent here, so it's a really hinky time.
I don't believe Frank has to be a part of that executive session.
No, he does
He
not.
does not. So we don't have to pull him away from anything first week of school.
We do
If we
have
are.
a.
And again, we're gonna have a meeting probably.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we will have a meeting at the end of September though, probably like September 20th.
Yeah.
So that would give us some breathing.
There's a
room.
possible time to do a special meeting for the referendum, because that, we also can have a bigger presentation at that time regarding the project too. So you could always appoint at the end of September
Yeah,
if you want and give yourself a little bit more time.
So you have an
Yeah.
executive session prior to the September 12th meeting?
or right up on the September 12th meeting, giving us some time, and then we'd have some time to notify applicants.
And then do an appointment at 20th?
Exactly,
Yeah,
something
good.
around there. Does that sound like something that works for everybody? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think the only issue we have to resolve is whether we do something like Rob suggested to include in the application that, preference will be given to applicants who, were previously served on school board or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Because it gets us over the training hurdle and we can hit the ground running, but.
Yeah.
I mean,
That seems reasonable to me, but I don't wanna.
I mean, do we have to say preferences given, or do we
we
just?
don't have to, but
Do we
it
just
would-
set
it
qualifications?
might encourage someone who's kind of on the fence.
Sure, well, I
Or
think we did
discourage
have, we
others,
did
I would
state
say.
something about serving on the school board or other boards. That was something we
I don't
did.
remember if we specifically called out library board last time or not.
No, but we said other boards, because serving on a board does give you that, some foot in the water
I think if
experience.
you put any sorts of qualifiers in, closing it up, you're gonna discourage some people from putting their name in. I would throw a big net out there, see who comes in. If you have somebody in mind, tap them on the shoulder, encourage them, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't put too many qualifiers in.
We did, when we did this before, there were some things that we just had some language used. We
Yeah.
might be able to pull that out and reuse it, because I think it was, we had a number of applicants and it was, yeah. All right, so we need a resolution. Does anyone want to word it out, or do you?
I'll,
So the board, so
Does
the
anyone-
board resolves
The-
to entertain applications for a vacant board seat and will
How about invite? Sorry.
invite,
Yeah.
invite applications for the board seat left vacant by the resignation of Mr. James Coffin. Is that?
With the intent of
Yeah,
appointing somebody in
Recorded,
September.
thank you.
With the, and the application, the schedule for the application will be set up so that, we will hopefully be able to appoint someone by the end of September.
Sounds good.
I second.
All right, do we have a motion? You can be the second, but
I'm a
you
second.
need a motion.
I think you just did it.
Okay, you move it?
Yeah, I moved it.
All right.
Second.
Tim's
Oh,
got a
Tim's got a
second.
I got a second.
All right, and we're in punch drunk mode.
Rachel, can I just say one thing?
Yes,
I will work with you tomorrow or the next day to get a press release out.
tomorrow's Friday, no, tomorrow's Thursday.
Thursday, so I'd like to get a press release
Friday
out
is a
and then
retreat,
schedule
so-
an appointment. But I'd like to do tomorrow if possible.
Yeah,
so
no,
we
no,
can
that's what I'm
just
saying,
get it.
tomorrow works,
Yeah,
but Friday
perfect.
we're gonna be kind of busy.
And then we can work to get a press release out
Yes,
and
we'll
get
do
that out
that.
to the greater
Yeah,
community.
we'll get that out there, yes. So we need to vote on this first though. So we had a first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed? All right, so yeah, tomorrow we can work on this. Okay, so that's the plan. If anyone was curious about what we're gonna do. All right, we do have another board member joining us though, an ex officio board member. Talia Michaels is not here with us today. She will be here, in September. She's a student selected as the first non-voting ex officio board member for this school year. And we're looking forward to welcoming her then. that is assuming we approve this. We haven't voted yet on 7.2. I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. So 7.2 is Talia and Michaels. We look forward to when we vote, if we vote to approve it. We also have the approval for the contract of the school crossing guard, the tax warrant. Should we take those three items together, 7.2 to 7.5?
So on 7.4, the pilot agreement,
Oh, yes, sorry, 7.4.
there's just one like phrase in there that's bugging me.
Okay,
And I don't know if it was discussed with you guys or if you have an understanding of why it was put in there, but it's in 2B, which governs the payments. And it says, such 15-year term shall commence on the first taxable status date, here's the language, selected by owner following commencement of the construction of the project. So the way I read that is they finished their solar project, they're now ready to put it in production, but the payments start on the first taxable status date that they select, which I don't like.
So here's what I will say about that. If they don't select the very first date after they have it in place, it will be assessed.
so there's law that backs it up?
I don't know, it's just, it doesn't seem necessary to have that in there, right? Because otherwise it would say the 15-year term will commence on the first taxable status date following commencement of the construction of the project. Like, it doesn't need to be in there, so how did
Our
those
attorneys have vetted it,
words
so
get in
if,
there?
so if you'd like, we can take it out, and bring this back to Cipriani, and then have a further conversation and bring it back to you in September.
Because you know what I'm saying, like, you don't need that language in there if the assumption
Yeah.
is the payments start when you put this project into service.
Okay, let's table 7.4. Let's just vote on 7.
Yeah, sorry, I don't
No,
want
no,
to
that's all
have a
right.
timing issue,
I
but-
think,
No.
I think we're okay with timing, and we can vote on
We've
this.
we've been working through this for about 6 months now, so
All right.
that's fine.
Well,
Yeah, one more month isn't going to.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
so let's just vote on 7.2 and give that moment to Ms. Michaels.
I'll move that.
Okay, Tim, would you like to second this again?
Second.
Okay, not to put that in your head. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're gonna welcome Talia in September. And now we'll vote on 7.3 in and of itself, so that we can have a crossing guard, increasing the safety for our students and parents, families, of students, and so on. Would anyone like to move 7.3?
So moved.
Okay. Anyone like to second it?
Second.
Okay, here you go. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna move ahead to 7.5. Thank you for your diligence there and your thoughts. So 7.5 is acceptance of the approval of the tax warrant for the school year. Would anyone like to move this one?
I'll move that.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then we're gonna take a moment to be appreciative of the donations to the district from Jeff Clark and of Tasty Treat and Voorheesville PTA. Thank you for your generosity. And would anyone like to move this?
I'll move it.
I like it. Yeah. Any seconds?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now I thank you for your generosity. 7.7 is the only of the policies that we are voting on today, and it would be an approval of the revisions of 2150, the filling board policies, filling board vacancies policy. Do we have any questions about this one? No? Okay, I think we're acting on it in a way. Anyone want to move it?
I'll move it.
Okay, anyone want to second?
I'll second it.
Thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
And then we will skip down to 7.12 because the other ones are first read. And we'll look forward to hearing more about them in September after the 22nd, well, in October, actually, after this 22nd. The approval to modify the resolution regarding the fund balance. Any questions, any discussion? Okay, anyone want to move it?
I'll move it.
Okay. Anyone want a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, item number 8 is other business and an opportunity for the board to be heard.
I have something. I have a grandson who will be entering kindergarten on September 6th. I'm very excited about this. And I have to tell you that I was so amazed and appreciative. He was assigned to a particular teacher, I won't say who she is, but she then figured out how to communicate with their parents by video and and reached out to every one of these students, read them a book online about going to kindergarten, and I was blown away by that. Wow, what a great way to, and she's gonna be a great teacher. I'm really, really impressed with what I saw. The other thing I wanna mention is there's a guy here who works in maintenance named Dan Coons. And I was at the Altamont Fair yesterday with my grandkids. It was a wonderful day, long day. We had a great time, except for the last 10 minutes when my granddaughter, who was a walking bee bomb, she had, her lips were covered with sugar and cotton candy and suckers and whatever. A bee stung her in the lip and it blew up and I was freaking out. Dan Coons was right there,
It's also-
volunteer fire department.
Yeah.
He said, come with me. And he got me hooked up with the first aid. Everything happened. And
Some benzos
So-
on there.
I've had 2 very good experiences with 2 employees of this district. I'm very pleased. I wanted to report that.
Fabulous.
That'd be hard to
Nice.
follow.
Yeah.
I got nothing. Robin?
I want to thank the members of the community who stuck it out with us through this
Yeah.
monster meeting. This was quite the agenda for tonight.
Yeah, it's packed. Thank you, all for being here. Anything?
No.
All right, dates to remember. I want to just point out to the board, we meet at the elementary school at 9 o'clock on Friday morning for a walkthrough, and then we'll be at 10 o'clock for the retreat. So thank you all for that time and for your time served on committees. And the next board meeting is the 12th of September. School opens before then, and I want to echo the thanks to Frank and to his team and to all the members of the Voorheesville Central School District who have made it possible for the students to come in. It's a date that some of them are looking forward to, and all of them are going to appreciate at some point. So, thank you. With that, I'm gonna ask for one more motion, and second to adjourn. Anyone?
I'll move that.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for being here.